Welcome to Revenge Chronicles. Hello everyone and welcome back to Revenge Chronicles. Whether you're a long-time subscriber or discovering us for the first time, you're in for an emotional journey today. We share real stories of people who found their strength when pushed too far. Today's story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family loyalty. Let's dive in. I stood in the hallway outside the restaurant's private dining room, clutching the letter I'd written and rewritten 17 times. Through the glass doors, I could see my family gathered around the long table, celebrating Marcus's 40th birthday. Everyone was there. Mom, Dad, our aunts and uncles, cousins, even some family friends who'd known us since childhood. They were all laughing at something Marcus had said, probably another one of his charming stories about his successful marketing firm or his recent promotion to senior partner. The golden boy holding court, as always. What they didn't know was that in 5 minutes, I was going to walk through those doors and shatter every illusion they had about their precious Marcus. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. For the first time in 37 years, I felt clarity instead of confusion, strength instead of the crushing weight of self-doubt that had been my constant companion. You see, Marcus had been destroying me piece by piece since we were children, and he'd gotten so good at it that even I had started believing his version of reality. Until 3 weeks ago, when I accidentally discovered the truth. I'd been helping Mom clean out some old boxes in the attic when I found a folder of my childhood report cards and teacher evaluations. Reading through them, I felt like I was discovering a different person. Sarah is exceptionally bright and shows remarkable leadership potential. Sarah's creativity and problem-solving skills are outstanding. Sarah would benefit from advanced placement programs. I sat there in that dusty attic, staring at papers that proved I wasn't the family disappointment I'd been convinced I was. Every teacher, every evaluation, every academic achievement award told a story Marcus had spent decades erasing from my memory. You were always the slow one, Sarah. Mom and Dad had to work twice as hard because you couldn't keep up. Remember how you cried when you couldn't understand your math homework? These weren't memories, I realized. They were lies Marcus had told so many times that I'd internalized them as truth. The breaking point came when I found my college acceptance letter to Northwestern University. Full scholarship. I'd forgotten I'd even been accepted because Marcus convinced me not to go. You'll just fail out and embarrass the family, he'd said. Community college is more your speed. I never went to Northwestern. Instead, I spent 2 years at community college before dropping out to work full-time when Dad had his heart attack. Marcus, meanwhile, went to a state school that I later realized wasn't even as good as the school that had wanted me. 3 weeks of digging through old documents revealed a pattern so systematic it took my breath away. Every achievement, every success, every moment of praise I'd received had been slowly poisoned by Marcus's reinterpretations. Every failure, every mistake, every weakness had been magnified until it became my entire identity. But tonight was different. Tonight, 30 family members were about to learn who Marcus really was. I pushed through the doors and the chatter gradually died down as everyone noticed me. Marcus looked up from his chair at the head of the table, that familiar flash of irritation crossing his face when he realized he'd have to share attention. Sarah. Mom called out. We were wondering when you'd get here. Marcus was just telling us about his latest client acquisition. Actually, I said, my voice steadier than I'd expected, I have something I need to share with everyone. Something about Marcus that I think you should all know. The room went completely silent. Marcus's smile faltered slightly, but he recovered quickly. Sarah, this is my birthday dinner. Whatever family drama you're cooking up can wait. No, I said, unfolding the letter. It's waited 30 years too long. I looked around the table at faces I'd known my whole life. These people loved me, I knew that. But they'd also believed every lie Marcus had told about me, and I'd been too broken to defend myself. I want to read you something, I began. It's a letter I wrote, but it's really a timeline. A timeline of emotional abuse that most of you witnessed but didn't recognize. Uncle Jim shifted uncomfortably. Sarah, maybe we should. Let her speak, Dad said quietly. Something in his tone made everyone else fall silent. I took a deep breath and began reading. When I was 8 years old, I won the school science fair. Marcus told everyone I cheated, and when I cried, he said I was just upset because I knew it was true. What actually happened was that Marcus had entered the same category and lost, so he made sure my win felt like a failure. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. Sarah, you really going to psychoanalyze childhood memories? At my birthday dinner? I continued without looking at him. When I was 12, I made the honor roll 6 semesters in a row. Marcus convinced our parents that the standards must have been lowered because there was no way I was actually smart enough to achieve that on my own. I started believing him and stopped trying in school. Mom's face was pale. Marcus, you didn't actually. When I was 16, I continued, my voice growing stronger, I was accepted to Northwestern University with a full scholarship. Marcus told me I'd never survive in a real university, that I'd flunk out and humiliate the family. So I went to community college instead, convinced I wasn't smart enough for anything better. The silence in the room was deafening. I could see people exchanging glances, memories shifting as they reconsidered things they'd witnessed over the years. When Dad had his heart attack, I dropped out of school and worked 60-hour weeks to help with medical bills and keep the house. Marcus was in his final year of college. Instead of helping, he told everyone I dropped out because I couldn't handle the academic pressure. He let everyone believe I was a quitter instead of acknowledging that I was sacrificing my education for my family. Dad's hand was pressed against his mouth, his eyes bright with unshed tears. For the past 15 years, every time I've struggled financially, Marcus has told this family that it's because I'm irresponsible with money. What he doesn't tell you is that I've lent him over $40,000 for his business ventures, his car payments, and even his wedding. Money he's never paid back, but somehow my financial struggles are proof of my poor character. Cousin Rebecca spoke up. Sarah, is this true? You've been supporting Marcus financially. I pulled out my phone and showed the table my banking records. Venmo transfers, bank statements, loan documents. Marcus's marketing firm that everyone's so proud of? I provided the startup capital. His BMW? I co-signed the loan when his credit wasn't good enough. His beautiful wedding reception? I paid for the catering because he'd overspent on everything else. Marcus's face had gone red. Sarah, you're taking everything out of context. You're making me sound like some kind of monster. I'm not done, I said, my voice ice cold. Last month, when I finally started dating someone after years of Marcus convincing me I was too damaged for a relationship, Marcus called my boyfriend and told him I had a history of mental instability. He said I'd been in and out of therapy for years and that I had a tendency to create drama and make false accusations when I felt abandoned. Gasps around the table. Several people turned to stare at Marcus in shock. My boyfriend broke up with me the next day. Said he couldn't handle being with someone who wasn't stable. It wasn't until I found Marcus's number in his call log that I realized what had happened. Aunt Linda's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus, you didn't. But the worst part, I continued, isn't what Marcus has done to me. It's what he's done to all of you. He's convinced you that I'm the family burden, the one who can't get her life together, the one who needs constant help and guidance. And because you believed him, none of you have ever seen what was actually happening. I looked directly at my parents. You love me, I know you do. But when was the last time you asked about my achievements instead of my problems? When was the last time you celebrated something I'd accomplished instead of worrying about what I was doing wrong? Mom was crying now. Sarah, we had no idea. Marcus always said I was fragile and needed protecting. But what I actually needed was for someone to notice that the person claiming to protect me was the one hurting me. I folded the letter and looked around the table one last time. I'm done. I'm done pretending that gaslighting is love, that manipulation is protection, that systematic destruction of my self-worth is just family dynamics. Marcus stood up, his charm finally cracking. Sarah, you're being dramatic. This is ridiculous. You're making me sound like some kind of abusive monster when I've done nothing but try to help you your entire life. Help me? I laughed, and it wasn't a happy sound. Marcus, you've spent 30 years convincing me and everyone else that I was broken. But I'm not broken. I never was. I was just being systematically torn down by someone who needed me to be small so he could feel big. I turned to face the family. I love you all. But I won't be coming to family gatherings anymore where Marcus is present. I won't be lending money that won't be repaid. I won't be accepting criticism about my life choices from people who've only heard one side of the story. And I won't be pretending that this is normal anymore. Dad stood up slowly. Sarah, wait. Please don't leave. We need to talk about this. As a family. No, Dad. We needed to talk about this 20 years ago. Tonight, I just needed you all to hear the truth. I looked at Marcus one last time. Happy birthday, brother. I hope 40 brings you the self-reflection you've been avoiding for the past 39 years. If you've stayed with me through this entire story, I want to thank you for listening. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is finally tell our truth, even when it's painful. If this story resonates with you, please consider subscribing to Revenge Chronicles. We share these stories because silence protects the wrong people, and everyone deserves to have their voice heard. I walked out of that restaurant and into the first genuine peace I'd felt in decades. Because the truth, even when it's devastating, is still lighter than living a lie. Thank you for watching, and remember, your truth matters, your voice matters, and you matter. Until next time.